I had an experience recently at a Vice Live show. Now, Vice Live is a show on Viceland, a new show that they decided to replace Deezus and Mero with. That was basically the best show on Viceland, but of course now Deezus and Mero moved to Showtime. So Vice Live is filmed in Brooklyn, New York City, and it's done at the Vice offices in the depths of Brooklyn. I hate going to Brooklyn because in comparison to Manhattan in New York, Brooklyn is just all over the place. Just the grid, the labeling of the cities, of how the grid works, just fucking, it pisses me off to no end. Because on one block, it's William Street, and then after that, it's Sutherland Avenue, and after Sutherland Avenue, it's Pierce Street, and all this bullshit of names that does not make any sense for foreigners to come and navigate its way through it. It's like Brooklyn is designed in a way that just, not even designed, just labeled in a way that basically hates foreigners, hates people who come from other areas in New York City who aren't familiar with it, and hate people who come out of state to travel within it, because everything is a fucking name, and it pisses me off to no end. Whereas Manhattan is very simple. 72nd Street, all right, then after that is 73rd, then it's 74th, and 75th, and 76th, and 77, numbers. You understand? Navigation. It's easy. But anyway, Vice Live is filmed in Brooklyn, and obviously it's live on the Viceland cable channel. And I had a very bad experience at this show. You can look up information on Vice Live. It's done with 4 hosts who I am not familiar with, and for people who I have no interest in being familiar with, especially after the filming of the episode that I attended. The subject matter on the show is very basic. It's pretty much what you would expect any millennial show to sort of present. They have the hot topics, and then everybody takes their hot takes to whatever topics they discuss. Kanye, everything within the millennial music news cycle. And they read off the headlines, and then somebody just applies a clever pun that they probably, wrote 15 minutes before the show. And it's just so contrived, and it's so boring. But the show itself, I won't judge, because the show is a show, and they're sort of working the kinks out, and they're trying to make the show interesting. So I'm not mad at that. The issue that I took with the show, though, is the set is designed in a way that there are 4 couches in the center, and then for whatever reason they have a bar and sort of a lounge area, and throughout the course of the show the hosts hang out in the center, and then they go to the bar, and then there's a kitchen area too where they make all sorts of different content because, let's have a baking challenge, and they pick somebody from the audience, and they have somebody from the audience judge the baking challenge, and they think it's interesting. It may be interesting if you're watching it from home, but it's not interesting if you're at the show, if you're in the venue. Mainly because the hosts do a terrible job of engaging the audience. Between the commercials, the hosts would just sit on the couch, when they didn't have to move to the kitchen to shoot something or to the other lounge, when they just stayed seated. They didn't talk to the audience. They didn't talk to us. And we don't know who these people are, by the way. It's not like you're at the Wendy Williams show and in between takes, Wendy's just sitting there because she's Wendy Williams. She doesn't have to build rapport with you. I mean, at this point in her career, her product and her brand just sort of sells itself. And these people were just very lazy, just sitting there on their phones. Like, it couldn't get any more millennial than that. It couldn't get any more millennial than the fact that between on the commercial breaks, they were just on their phones, probably tweeting things out and completely just ignoring the people who were actually there. Now, granted, I didn't pay to go there, but we are your studio audience. Your producer is, basically we're the producer's cattle. Every fucking single time he wants to signal for an applause and we applaud, we're working for you. We're working for you to build that that ambiance or that the aura that this is interesting, that people should watch this show and give a shit about it. And if in between takes you're just looking at your phone, then why would I come back? Why would I support the show? I have no interest in looking up who these people are. I don't care about their careers. I'm sure they're great people in their personal lives, but as a unit, as a show, I'm sure it's going to fail. Because if you don't engage the audience that's there, how does any of this become real? You're just creating content. You're not creating an experience. And it's not very funny either. It's the cast is sort of made up of the witty white girl, and she just sort of just says cunt and says raunchy things every now and then, and that's supposed to shock the audience because she's sitting with 3 black people. And then there's the quirky black guy who dresses in a very unconventional way. He'll wear a hoodie with a dress. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that at one point. He's just very wild in the way that he dresses. Then you have sort of you have the black woman who she's got a quick mouth and she's very witty as well. And, she can obviously take jabs where the white woman can't take jabs, and they sort of complete each other in that way. And then you have the sort of the moderate black guy who's just there with with his corny jokes, and I don't really see any rapport with his other male co-host. But it's just a dynamic that just doesn't seem to work in the first place, and I would have nothing against the show if it were just that, because as I said, it's a show and it's working out the kinks. But there's no love for the audience. At one point, and I went with my girlfriend, and at one point there was this couple that was seated behind us, and as they were filming in the other locations, like say maybe the kitchen, or they were filming at the bar area, we were just sitting there in the distance, sort of just watching it on the flat screens, and the girl behind us says, and she didn't say this to me. This just lets you know how fucking nosy I am. But she didn't say this to me, but she said, they're entertaining themselves, but they're not entertaining us. And I looked back at her and I said, you know what? That's absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. When I hear things like that, like, it's so flavorful. Like, she's so accurate in that. Like, that's what I felt the whole time. And she just wrote the perfect caption for how I felt there. They are entertaining themselves, but they're not entertaining us. And they should be entertaining us, because that's what's going to make the show more enjoyable. I mentioned Wendy Williams, and one thing you notice when you watch the Wendy Williams show, if you've ever seen it, and I've watched enough Wendy Williams shows to know that after she's done with her hot topics, she stands up and she walks towards the audience and looks like she's about to embrace or engage the audience. Now, I have no idea if Wendy Williams, after they yell and commercial, she walks away and she gets her coffee and, she doesn't even make eye contact with any of the guests. I seriously doubt that. But it looks to me like Wendy is about to walk into the audience and engage people or look people in the fucking eye. And she's Wendy Williams, for Christ's sake. She's Wendy Williams. Like, say what you want about Wendy Williams. And recently, I think Howard Stern had a lot to say about Wendy Williams. But she's been in the industry for many years, established herself as a radio personality, a legend within the broadcast game, and has really done some innovative things as far as daytime gossip, celebrity gossip. She makes it interesting. Say what you will about, how vapid celebrity gossip is, but she's made her way in the world via that. And even she engages with the audience. And obviously you see Ellen, she gets up and she dances, she does her thing. And that's what you watch the Ellen show for at the beginning, when Ellen does her little dance through the crowd. These are shows that I don't watch, but these are examples of people who engage the studio audience and makes it an experience for the studio audience. And you would want to go back and watch this show. I went to a Bill Cunningham show. Bill Cunningham was sort of a low-level Jerry Springer show, but it was, big on the drama, big on the baby daddy, all that bullshit. And, all that stuff is fake, by the way, obviously, because, say, for example, they had a man and a woman on the show, and the woman is accusing the man of being a deadbeat dad. The producers would be behind the camera with big signs that's, you know, say the guy on stage, his name is Jared, and there's a sign that says, Jared, get upset, and Jared is just, he's following every cue that they give him, you know. So if the story's fake or not, which it probably is, what you can clearly see is that the emotion on stage is just totally contrived, and it's made up by the producers in order to make the show more interesting. So I've been to shows. I went to the Stephen A. Smith show one time. I actually asked Stephen A. Smith a question, but way back in the day when Stephen A. Smith had, I think it was called Quite Frankly with Stephen A. Smith. That was probably, you know, 2001 or 2000. I'm not sure, you know, Change of Heart. I went there, you know, so I know how some of these TV productions work, in that they have their comedian who comes on and he makes the crowd sort of comfortable, and, you know, they do their little routine, their little jokes, and they're like, hey guys, in a couple minutes we're going to start the show. We want you guys to clap. And we, you know, so this show was no different in the sense that they had their comedian come on and tell us and give us all the instructions. And I'm in. You know, if I'm there, I'm into the bullshit. I know it's TV. I know it's stupid. I know it's meant to dull us. But I have my personal life. And I went to Brooklyn with my girlfriend because I want to see a good show. So if I'm there, I'm going to support. If I had a program like that, I would want you to come to my show and support me as well. You understand? So I'm there and I'm all for the experience. But if you don't give me that sort of energy. Oh, and that was the other thing, by the way. Energy. Yes. There was sort of this manipulative tactic that was used by the comedian, and they're totally misunderstanding this, by the way. He said, the energy that you give the hosts is the energy that they give you back. Can you fucking believe that? Can you believe that they could say something so manipulative that if we walk away not liking the show, I guess we could only conclude that it's because we didn't give them the right energy? No, you set the tone. You are the entertainers. You are on the stage. You are the experienced ones. And it's your job to bring it out of your audience, because this is for your benefit and your career. You cannot leave your career in the hands of a set of random strangers who come to the studio and watch your show, and the reviews come out about your show about it being boring. And it's your job to make it interesting, and you can't put it on us, you know? So I say it's manipulative because I can only conclude that the hosts would probably say that we were a lame crowd, because in between the recordings, they were looking at their phones because I guess we weren't giving them enough energy. So that's just, you know, just bullshit. Fuck you. You know, I don't appreciate that. It took me about like an hour and 20 minutes to get over here, and I don't appreciate being, you know, given all that responsibility to have to give them energy. I don't have to give them shit. All right. I came here for my 2 drinks, you know, my shitty beer. Thank God to my girlfriend who does not drink, and I was able to take advantage of her and get an extra beer so I could drink. But I didn't even get a buzz, and it would have been pretty great if I did, because I had to sit through, you know, 2 hours of that. You know, if any of you guys have seen the Vice Live show, and I doubt that you guys have, you know, let me know in the comment section what you guys think about it. I don't know. I would assume that it's a show that's just going to tank soon. It's not interesting. There's nothing about the show that's memorable. I don't remember the topics that were discussed. I know Charlemagne was on the show, I think like 2-3 days before I had gone to see the show. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, maybe they'll have some interesting guests. When I was there, they didn't really have a guest. They just had some comedian that was there from Atlanta, and she was just sitting in, and she did her stand-up. She was pretty funny, and that was about it. Like, you know, I get that the show's new, and, you know, maybe in the future they'll get some better guests, but it doesn't seem like it's a show that has any longevity to it. In the description below, I have a Cash App link and a PayPal link. I would appreciate it if you would donate to the channel, because I do not make any money off of YouTube. So if you would do that, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.